Hello, all you freedom-loving people. Welcome to another episode of Front Page. I'm your host, Scott Cameron Goulet. The Manhattan DA is facing 2 lawsuits for refusing to release information that is related to the prosecution of President Trump. The conservative group that filed the lawsuits accuse Alvin Bragg of conspiring with the government to politically persecute President Trump. In an interview, President Trump explained that the DOJ allegations against him that he showed classified documents to others after leaving the White House are pure misrepresentation of the facts. Hunter Biden is to plead guilty to 3 federal crimes. And that's just the beginning. The Congressional Oversight Committee's investigation continues. A tourist submarine carrying 5 top tycoons has disappeared near the wreckage of the Titanic. Although the U.S. and Canadian military are doing their best to search for them, the fate of the passengers on board is still unknown. And we continue our story from yesterday on how a CCP spy was discovered in Denmark. Okay, let's get into it. The Heritage Foundation, which is a conservative think tank, has launched a counterattack against Manhattan District Attorney Alvin Bragg, who is prosecuting President Trump. The Heritage Foundation suspects that Bragg and his office coordinated or communicated with the Justice Department, with the White House, and with Congressman Daniel Goldman regarding the alleged hush money case against President Trump. Bragg hasn't responded to requests from Heritage Foundation for communication between Bragg or his office and other parties. Heritage stated that it has the right to see those communications under New York's Freedom of Information law. Now, the Heritage Foundation think tank filed 2 Freedom of Information lawsuits against the Manhattan prosecutor. The first lawsuit against Bragg stated, regrettably, these questions have not been met with answers. These reports have raised concerns in many circles based in large part upon the long-standing history of President Trump's political opponents coordinating their activities to systematically weaponize the criminal justice system against him and thereby pervert the course of justice. Mike Howell, the director of Heritage's Oversight Project, told Fox News his organization suspects that Bragg was coordinating or otherwise communicating with opponents of President Trump. Howell said the fact we have to file a lawsuit against Bragg, who says he can't produce these records and says he doesn't have the systems to do so, is proof positive of another dual standard of justice at play in this country. You have a weaponized actor who's going after the president on a loony theory about his document retention, whereas the DA can't even keep his own documents, and it's in violation of the information laws that he is bound by. A second lawsuit that was filed by the Heritage Foundation alleges that Bragg and his cronies hired pro bono assistance from a large law firm. The firm specializes in white-collar litigation. The Heritage Foundation now wants the court to declare the requested documents as subject to release under New York's Freedom of Information law. A spokesperson for Bragg's office told the New York Post on Friday, "We'll decline to comment and will respond in court papers." On Monday, President Trump clarified a recording that is in DOJ evidence. He said that he did not actually produce the classified U.S. military documents that he referred to in a taped meeting with a book publisher in July of 2021. The meeting occurred on July 21st, 2021 at Trump National Golf Club in Bedminster, New Jersey. The meeting involved a writer, a publisher, and 2 aides of the president. The meeting centered around a forthcoming book that was authored by Mark Meadows, who is President Trump's former chief of staff. The recent DOJ allegations refer to a document that President Trump mentioned to those who attended the July 2021 meeting. President Trump described the document as secret and classified. There was no document, Trump insisted during Monday's Fox News interview. Contrary to the allegations in the indictment, President Trump maintains that his documents during the meeting included numerous newspaper and magazine clippings about Iran and other things that referred to a classified military plan. The documents he had were not actually classified documents. President Trump said that was a massive amount of paper and everything else talking about Iran and other things. And it may have been held up or may not. But that was not a document. I didn't have a document per se. There was nothing to declassify. These were newspaper stories, magazine stories, and articles. The establishment media said at the time that President Trump briefly went through some documents at the meeting. The media say that President Trump said that he could not produce the classified document to the public as evidence that Milley intended to attack Iran because of their classified nature. According to the indictment, President Trump said, well, with senior military officials, let me see, I'll show you an example. However, President Trump denied ordering Milley to create such a plan, claiming it was a misconception. Trump told Fox, I never ordered that to happen, no. Trump said, he, meaning Milley, said that I wanted to attack Iran. Isn't it amazing? I have a big pile of papers. This thing just came up. In the interview, Fox News' Brett Baier questioned President Trump's use of the word secret in order to describe the document. He argued that it contradicted President Trump's previous claim that he had declassified all relevant material. President Trump clarified that his statement referred to the fact that he had no authority to declassify the document after he left the presidency. President Trump said, I said that I couldn't declassify now. That's because I wasn't president. I've never made any bones about it. When I'm not president, I can't declassify. At that point, the classified information had already been reported on by media outlets. This is what President Trump claims that he was referring to in the transcript. President Trump once again expressed that everything was declassified before because he had the right to declassify. President Trump said, this is purely a Presidential Records Act. This is not a criminal thing. In fact, the New York Times, of all, had a story just the other day that the only way NARA could ever get this stuff back would be, please, 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 could we have it back? And in a surprise move, Hunter Biden is to plead guilty to 3 federal crimes. Chris Clark, the lawyer representing Hunter Biden, has released a statement following the charges. Clark acknowledged that Hunter Biden was charged with 2 misdemeanor tax crimes that were resolved in a plea agreement. He was also charged with 1 federal firearm charge. This charge was subject to a pre-trial diversion agreement. Hunter Biden was charged with illegally owning a firearm in 2018 after lying about his drug use when he purchased a gun. He was charged with failing to file and pay taxes in 2017 and 2018, which are misdemeanor offenses. Reportedly, prosecutors will recommend probation, which would spare Hunter Biden any jail time, but this could land him in trouble if he violates the terms of his probation. For violating his probation, this would carry a charge of up to 10 years in prison and or a fine of $250,000. President Trump reacted to the news immediately. He wrote on Truth Social, wow, the corrupt Biden DOJ just cleared up hundreds of years of criminal liability by giving Hunter Biden a mere traffic ticket. Our system is broken. Republican lawmakers have publicly criticized the plea deal. House Oversight Committee Chairman James Comer called Hunter Biden's charge a slap on the wrist. Comer tweeted, Hunter Biden is getting away with a slap on the wrist when growing evidence uncovered by the House Oversight Committee reveals the Bidens engaged in a pattern of corruption, influence peddling, and possibly bribery. Illinois Representative Mary Miller also called Hunter Biden's expected plea a sweetheart deal from the DOJ. Miller tweeted, Hunter Biden is receiving a sweetheart deal from the DOJ that shields the big guy, Joe Biden, from the Biden foreign bribery operation. The cash and diamonds he didn't pay taxes on came from China, Russia, and Ukraine. No FARA foreign agent charges. 2 systems of justice. Since Sunday, a submarine that was carrying tourists to visit the wreck of the Titanic has disappeared. The U.S. and Canada have now sent planes and submarines to search the Atlantic Ocean for the missing submarine. The submarine was chartered by Ocean Gate Expeditions, which is a private company. They went to explore the wreckage of the Titanic at the cost of $250,000 per person. Those who can afford such high costs must be super wealthy. There are 5 passengers on board the submarine, one of whom is the British billionaire Hamish Harding. Another is Pakistani tycoon Shahzada Dawood and his son. Also on board the submarine are Stockton Rush, who is the founder and CEO of Ocean Gate Expeditions, and Paul Henry Narjolet, who is a famous French explorer. Hamish Harding is known for his own adventures, with a resume that includes a record-breaking voyage around the world, an expedition to the Antarctica with Apollo 11 astronaut Buzz Aldrin, and his 5th manned flight on a Blue Origin rocket last year. Pakistani tycoon Shahzada Dawood is one of the richest people in Pakistan. He is a member of the board of directors of the Prince's Trust charity in the UK. David Pogue, a CBS correspondent who participated in the Titanic exploration dive last year, says that there are 2 reasons to be optimistic. He said, "As we monitor the lost Ocean Gate Expedition submarine to the Titanic, 2 reasons for hope. First, they have 96 hours of oxygen on board. Second, they have 7 different ways to rise to the surface, multiple redundant ballast and air bladder systems." By Monday afternoon, the submarine had probably used up 1/3 of its 96 hours of oxygen supply, said David Concannon, who is a consultant for Ocean Gate Expeditions. So why did the submarine disappear for so long? David Pogue said that there are 2 possibilities. The submarine got tangled in an abandoned fish net, or it was leaking, either which is very, very serious. By Monday afternoon, a Titanic expert said that he still felt the rescue was very, very possible and had a very positive attitude. All right, let's continue with the story that we didn't finish yesterday. We left off with Jens Eolose meeting with the Huawei representative, Jason Lan, after Huawei put in a surprise last-minute bid as if they knew how much their competitor had bid to get the 5G contract in Denmark with TDC. Immediately following the meeting with Jason Lan, Jens Eolose ordered an investigation into the source of the apparent leak with TDC. The investigation was extremely sensitive because TDC's senior management were potential suspects. The task fell to the company's security team, which began its investigation in the basement of a building that was adjacent to TDC's executive offices. Investigators first had to determine whether their systems had been hacked. One possibility was that a Huawei employee working with TDC installed malware on the system. This would open the door for Chinese hackers. Or an employee sought information about Ericsson's bid on TDC's network. There is a precedent for this. In 2014, U.S. prosecutors charged 5 hackers from the Chinese Communist military with breaking into the U.S. steelmaker's computer network and stealing intellectual property and internal communications in order to help benefit Chinese companies. And in 2016, the U.S. Department of Justice began investigating Huawei. These investigations led directly to the arrest in Canada of Meng Wanzhou, who is the daughter of Huawei's founder, and she was the vice chairman of Huawei. The U.S. indictment against Meng Wanzhou alleged that Huawei explicitly encouraged theft and that Huawei employees were instructed to post confidential information that was obtained from other companies onto the Huawei intranet site. Huawei headquarters awarded a monthly prize to the employee who provided the most valuable theft information. And every 6 months, an award is given to the Huawei regional division that submits the most valuable information. The TDC security team asked company executives to turn over their phones and laptops. However, subsequent searches found no evidence of network intrusions and no indication that malware and other hackers had gained access. So, someone at TDC must have deliberately shared the bid information with Huawei, and that person must be one of TDC's top executives. Investigators began looking at the company's email accounts in order to see who had sent the Ericsson bid document or had discussed bids with others. They also tried to find out if anyone was communicating with Jason Lan. This was a huge job because Jason Lan was socially inclined. He likes to host lavish receptions in the bar of a Copenhagen hotel. It's a famous 268-year-old building where you can order a $1,700 bottle of whiskey or a $6,700 bottle of champagne, and the hotel overlooks the giant Huawei logo that stands above the bustling Nyhavn Canal. According to former TDC employees and Danish government officials who have dealt with Jason Lan, when he drinks too much, he becomes loud and vocal about the stress he feels. He complained about how his wife and young son would be affected if he performed poorly. Jason Lan's receptions quickly helped him to open up among TDC executives. One TDC executive made several trips to China to meet with Huawei management, and he used a Huawei cell phone given to him by the company. He also met a young, attractive female Huawei employee during one of his trips to China. She was later transferred to Copenhagen as a marketing assistant. It seemed like there was a honeypot waiting for this executive to dive in. The TDC executive also frequently talked and dined with Jason Lan. But the security team did not find any evidence that this executive might have leaked secrets in the 5G tender. Soon, a real key suspect emerged. Dov Goldstein is a Danish native and a mechanical engineer. He had been with TDC since 2005. He led negotiations at TDC during the 4G mobile network upgrade. And in 2016, he was appointed head of special projects and cost optimization programs. He reported to TDC's chief financial officer. Goldstein did not appear to have any problems at first, as he did not use a Huawei phone or have a potential romantic relationship with a female Huawei employee. But investigations found that he frequently called and texted Jason Lan. He also often helped Jason Lan make suggestions to TDC executives. The two dined regularly at the Goulet Hotel. This included a 4.5-hour dinner the day after TDC received Huawei's first bid for the 5G contract in October of 2018. On February 26, 2019, TDC's 5G committee made a preliminary decision to give the contract to Ericsson. According to Goldstein's call log, he called Jason Lan twice the next day, and he invited him via email to meet him for coffee on March 4th. Jason Lan accepted his invitation. Let's note this date, March 4th, the day before Huawei revised its offer. Early that morning, Goldstein opened a folder on his computer containing 5 presentations for the TDC board and 5G committee. He then opened a file containing Ericsson's final offer. TDC's closed-circuit TV footage shows Goldstein leaving the TDC building for coffee with Jason Lan on March 4th with a laptop under his arm. Within less than 24 hours of that meeting, Jason Lan urgently submitted a revised offer from Huawei to TDC. The bid was just a little lower than Ericsson's offer. Investigators initially did not notice Goldstein because neither Goldstein nor his top boss were on the 5G committee. But then the TDC security team discovered that his boss had the documents and that he had emailed them to Goldstein. At that point, the TDC security team also began to suspect that someone was spying on them as well. While scanning the company's conference room, they found multiple remote microphones that, while compatible with the existing conference audio equipment, were not part of the original system. No one knew who had installed these microphones or why. The security team moved into the office of Plesner, one of TDC's law firms, on March 18th. But after they moved to the new address, a series of unusual events immediately occurred in the place. We'll continue tomorrow with what really happened. Okay, this is our show for today. Thank you so much for tuning in. If you like what you heard today, please don't forget to like this video and share it with your friends and family, because everybody deserves to know the truth. Again, thank you for watching Front Page, and we will see you next time.